Welcome to another exciting and inviting, informative and performative episode of the Entreprenudist Podcast, the place to hear real entrepreneurs and business owners bear it all. I'm your host, life strategist and retirement planner, Randolph Love III. And if you have not heard, the third's the word. And we do have a word from another great business owner and entrepreneur on the show today. Somebody's going to talk to you about what it feels like to scale a $1 billion company, and should you tell your kids about it? But before we bring them, I want to remind you that this episode is brought to you by Shield Wolf Strongholds, a wealth growth and protection company. When it comes to estate planning, when it comes to retirement planning, when it comes to life insurance, when it comes to employee benefits, if your plan ain't Shield Wolf, your plan ain't strong. If you are a business owner that wants you and your employees to retire higher than you would have prior, or your tax is at the max and you so stressed you can't relax, make sure you visit shieldwolfstrong.com or call or text +1 904 822 4262. Now to our guests. After co-founding and scaling a $1 billion wealth management firm, he now works with owner families to turn wealth into legacy. He's also a C12 chair, leading peer advisory groups for Christian CEOs. Core topics he'd love to explore is why this is mom and dad's money until we die leaves families disconnected, how to design a family governance charter rooted in mission, vision, and values, building a family council that actually works, and moving from passive inheritance to active stewardship, structuring legacy, giving, and impact projects across generations. John Knowlton, welcome to the Entreprenudist Podcast.
Well, Randolph, I don't think I can match you for the rhymes and spitting the bars like that, but it is my sincere hope that this conversation is the most impactful conversation that the listeners experience this week.
Absolutely. And impact is very important because when you do it right, the money follows, right? And
That's right.
When you do it right, the money trickles down. Yet another correlation between money and water, right? And just like water, you got to feed your kids water. You also got to let them know about money. So my first question to you is, before we get into it, is there nothing that you know now that you wish you knew before you got started?
Well, Randolph, I'll tell you, I have been broke, and I know that that is a drag. But if I could talk to my younger self, I would tell him, encourage him to keep pressing, continue to add value to people, keep finding a way to give things to other people, because what Jesus Nazareth said, give and it shall be given to you. So the value creation cycle begins with giving. And so as long as we keep finding ways to give and provide value to other people, we're going to be all right.
Oh yeah, like Charlie from All Dogs Go to Heaven said, the more you share, the more you get. So when I was growing up, I grew up in a middle-class family. All I knew was don't touch the thermostat. Leave it there, right? I was never told why. I was just told not to touch the thermostat. But now that I'm older, I know that every degree that you adjust that thermostat might be an extra $15, $20 plus per month. And maybe you already didn't have that money. So most parents don't necessarily talk about the money, but they try to instill the fear in doing the habits that keep the money low. So do you really talk to your kids about how much money you make?
Oh, absolutely. I've got a chart going back to 1998, and I share that every December with them and update the graph.
All right. So it sounds like you don't just talk about how much money you make, you also talk about how much money you spend.
Yeah, I mean, I am subject to my family board in terms of our money. And I'm happy to talk about all of that. But I think another interesting place to begin is with, why don't other people talk about money? Why don't people talk with their kids about money? Go ahead, Randolph.
I don't know. Why don't they?
Well, I've studied this and asked a lot of people. And it's interesting. People who feel poor, they don't talk about their money with their kids for a couple reasons. One is they feel a sense of shame. about either not making it or making bad decisions or whatever. And then the second reason surprised me, but it was very common when I talked to lower economic factor people, and it was they don't want to be asked for money. In other words, if anybody finds out I got a little bit, they're going to try to get their hands on it. For middle class people, like don't touch the thermostat people, there's a couple of reasons. One is there's a sense of privacy, none your business. A second reason is a sense of guilt. And the guilt isn't necessarily about making bad choices. The guilt is often around, I work so much to make ends meet that I know I'm not spending enough time with my children. And if we talk about money, it's going to put that into context that I am chasing money more than I'm chasing relationship with my kids. And then amongst wealthy people, the reason they don't want to talk about it is that that privacy piece goes way off the charts. People get really paranoid about other people knowing about how much money they have, and they don't want to disincentivize their kids. They don't want to turn them into Nepo babies or trust fund babies or, these celebrities that you see carrying their little dogs around and things like that. And so there's lots of reasons, but it's super common, regardless of financial status, that people don't talk about money with their children.
Okay. Because that is a lot of the times I definitely thought about the shame factor of not having enough assets, and therefore I don't want to bring it up. In my line of work, what I find is, I also assist people when it comes to their estate planning and things of that nature. And what happens is a lot of parents, when you ask them about their wills or their trust or anything, they say, it's all in this secret drawer. Whenever I die, look at this secret drawer that has everything lined up for you. And, ultimately, when that moment comes, you find out that there's nothing in that drawer. And I've always reached that conclusion that they just didn't want to talk about assets because, A, they thought if they talked about it, superstition wise, that meant they're going to die tomorrow. And B, the point that you just made, they did not want to admit that they did not gain as much as they thought they should have. Materials, in the grand scheme of things aren't that important, but a lot of times material attributes is placed on the value of one's life.
Sure. Yeah. Well, yeah. And so what you just described of, hey, there's a secret book, right? That is sort of the conclusion of this idea that, hey, this is mom and dad's money. We're going to do whatever we want with it until we die. And then you'll find out later. And what do you find out? You find out how much is there. Are there debts? You find out that kind of stuff. But also for some people, they have been thoughtful and they've written these detailed trust documents with oftentimes restrictive language around when money can be distributed or what it can be spent on. And we call that dead hand control, or trying to exercise control from the grave. And my concern with that, or my beef with that, is, first of all, that is way too late to try to be teaching people about your children, about your values, and about how to manage money. So you're going to leave them ignorant until you die, and then hope that they read a legal document and then suddenly adopt your values. Give me a break. That is a complete plan to fail. And so that's why I think it's so much richer to engage in a shared decision-making, a joint decision-making that we call shared governance, of bringing your kids into conversations about and decisions around financial matters and money. How much should mom and dad live on? I know a lot of people aren't open for that, but yeah, we talk about how much we make. We review our net worth. My kids are on an investment committee. They actually run the philanthropy committee. And it is a beautiful thing, Randolph, to have your adult children sharing in decision-making, adopting your values, living them out, and being able to benefit from the knowledge that mom and dad have accrued, the values that we've lived our lives by that have helped us to become a successful family, and they get to take advantage of partnering with the family if they want to do a business or buy a property or something like that. So happy to unpack any of that wherever you want to go.
Oh yeah, because it is very important to get the kids to buy in before you sell the farm, as they say, because there is no trust police, right? And typically, when you name that trustee, that successor trustee, usually at first it's like an honor. All right, I'm the responsible child. I'm the child that mom and dad trusted the most. But a lot of times, trying to follow those dead hand governance, as you mentioned, could alienate that child from the rest of the family and isolate them to where they're no longer invited to Christmas anymore. And all you were doing was following mom and dad's rules. And it sounds like what you're saying is you need to make it to where it's not just thrown upon all of them all at once when that happens, but make it a part of their being, a part of their core values, the family's core values.
Let them write the rules with your guidance. Yeah. So Randolph, I've taken our family through an extensive process of writing down our family's mission. In other words, what are we about? And our vision. How will the world be different if we're successful at the mission? And what are the values by which we're going to conduct our affairs? And they've participated in writing these things. And I'll tell you, having your kids be part of the decision-making process means that they're not coming to me for yes or no. Or, hey, can I have some money? No. Hey, make the case to your siblings in front of your mom and dad. And how does your request align with our mission, our visions, and our values that we've all agreed on? And I'll give you a real world example that happened to me and my wife in the last few months. One of our kids got in trouble. You have enough kids, you're going to get a call from jail now and then. And thank God there was no charges brought or anything like that. But it put me in the spot. Gosh, what's the appropriate response here? Do I jump in with hiring a lawyer? Do I have to pay bail? These kinds of things. And I'm like, gosh, I don't want to be the one making this call. And so I convened the rest of the kids together, and we had a board meeting about this. What is the appropriate response? And listening to my adult children, Randolph, share their perspective on this was super helpful. They had compassion, and they had a sense of bearing your own consequences. And so they had a very mature discussion around the right response to somebody being in trouble, and how should the family be involved in that. So it wouldn't be mom and dad bailing somebody out. It would be everybody. So, this resentment thing can build up if mom and dad help Scooter, but they don't help, Bocephus or whatever like that. And so we wanted to make sure that everybody was involved in the conversation.
Yeah, and it's ironic that you use the term Scooter. I remember growing up, and I just so happened to come across the delineation of how much my mother was spending on me compared to how much she was spending on my sister, and just so happened that she was spending a lot more on my sister than she was with me. And I had the question. I went to her and I said, well, what's the reason you spend more money on her than you do on me? And without even, I think she was reading the Bible, as a matter of fact, and without even looking up, without even breaking her stride, she said one simple sentence: the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Sure.
Now, I just so happened to be, even though I was a little kid, single digits, the first time somebody ever called me an old soul was when I was 4 years old, right? And wow. I think usually when people call you an old soul, they just mean that they're trying to say that you're wise. But as soon as she said that, I immediately got it. I said, oh, yeah, you're right. I don't really complain about things. I don't really ask for anything. Oh, okay, that makes sense. And I went on about my day, but I don't think a lot of children, regardless of their age, would have that sense of understanding.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And so sometimes a kid needs more help, right? We all have different attributes and abilities and challenges and all that kind of thing. But we just want to make sure that there is no secret drawer, and we want to eliminate secrets, really of all kinds. You don't build a trusting relationship on a foundation of secrecy. And so we bring them in. We bring them into the conversation and invite them to participate in making decisions about money. And besides avoiding pain, this has also been a really beautiful opportunity for us to partner with our kids. So one of my kids was obviously not going to college. He'd always been outside working with his hands. As a little kid, he's building tree houses and everything. So we put him on the path to be in construction. In high school, by his senior year, he'd taken so much construction stuff. He would go to school at 8:00 for one class, and then he'd be on a job site for the rest of the day, getting credit and getting paid. He was getting paid to go to school, man. And now he's in his early 20s. He's a general contractor, and the family is partnering with him to do fix and flips. So we're buying houses. He's general contracting it, doing some work himself, hiring other subs, and then we sell it and we split the profit. He gets some, the family gets some. And he's got a friendly customer, if you will, who's buying incrementally more complex projects so that we progress his knowledge and confidence at an appropriate rate. And we've got somebody we trust on the other side who's doing the work and doing good work for us. And it's just a really beautiful thing. All the other kids know about it. The investment committee makes the decisions about, are we going to do this project or not? And so it's really an amazing tool to increase honesty and the depth of relationship, as well as help our kids learn, how does money work? How does real estate work? How do we invest in stocks? All that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, and of course I'm not a CPA. You should definitely check with your CPA. But also I'm assuming that when you provide this money to your children for multiple situations, you're probably loaning it out to them at a nominal interest rate to where it's not considered a taxable event for them whenever they get hold of it. Is that how y'all do it?
Yeah. So I'm not actually loaning anybody any money. So in that instance about the fix and flips, the family buys the family LLC, owns LLCs. The LLC for that particular project owns a house, and then we pay our son, who's the general contractor. He invoices us, so there is no loan involved. And then and we have a contract between his company and the LLC, and then when the house is sold and we have a profit, we split the profit according to the terms of the contract.
Okay, yeah, because it sounds like what you're saying, that LLC is ownership is conveyed to the trust, probably through some type of private documents. But I mean, like, if you were to just give money directly to a child, I know a lot of people in this instance, what they do is they put together a private agreement between them, the child, and the trust, saying that we're charging you a small interest rate to where it's considered a loan, to where no matter what you give the child can report that they received the loan, but because it's technically a loan, it's not considered a taxable event. And a lot of CPAs work with trusts to make sure that they follow the compliance rules of that. And I also know one of the benefits, and I'm not an attorney, but I know that one of the benefits of having that board inside of the trust is to where if a member of the trust were ever sued, then the trust could be held non-liable because those board members are disinterested third parties in whatever happened, and therefore that money is protected inside of there.
Yeah. So we don't actually use a trust. If you want to get into the house,
let's get into it.
We use a family LLC. So
there you go.
I think about running everything as a business, and so we have a master LLC, and all the governance and ownership takes place at the master family LLC level. And then there are various business interests and brokerage accounts and things like that, which are owned by the master family LLC. And then we can convey interest in that master LLC to the kids over time. And,
Do you
we've got
help?
what is it, $15 million per person gift in estate tax exemption. So we got a lot of headroom.
Okay. Do you help people set up these entities? Is that how you assist people?
I'm not a lawyer either. Although one of my lawyers said, you're half a lawyer, so, which is probably the dangerous half, right? But
you know enough to be dangerous.
definitely dangerous. No, the thing that I specialize in, Randolph, is having the conversations that feel difficult. In other words, facilitating these conversations that you've put off for years and years. It's kind of strange. People hire me when they're having a hard time communicating. And so I've been working with a school district it's a big district. They spend a lot of money. They've got an architecture firm, and then they've got what's called an owner's representative, which is another architecture firm, and then their finance team. And anyways, all these people not getting along. They hire me to come help people get along better. Same thing with families. Mom and dad have deferred the conversations about money, but they have a heart to help their kids learn, to be to build a family identity that doesn't just get dispersed, when we split up the money when mom and dad die. And so that's the unique piece that I bring to these families is, hey, I can help facilitate these conversations. And Randolph, the secret is to have lots of little conversations so that you don't have to have the big scary conversation. When we put off something that needs to be said or something that needs to be talked about, it just gets bigger and scarier in our brains. And so the solution is to kind of let the air out of a balloon slowly rather than letting it get up big, big, big and then pop and explode all over everybody, make a mess. And so I teach people to develop these regular rhythms of little conversations so that they've learned how to talk about things that get incrementally more emotional. And we can start with real small things that are simple. And then I help them facilitate ultimately going down to how do we develop mission? How do we do our vision? What's our values? How's our governance going to look? And all that stuff, which can feel pretty intense.
Oh yeah, and there is a great market for what you're talking about, because somebody the pessimists would say, I don't like what John's saying because he's treating the family like a business. Well, I'm sorry. Either your family is a business. Is your business gonna run out of money, or are you gonna strive and thrive? Because a lot of the things that make a business, a company very successful is they have that mission statement. They have those core values. They have those things that they do and that help guide every decision that they make or here on out into the future. And if you and your family don't have that core value or that target to aim at, you'll hit it every time.
Oh, that's absolutely right. So, people talk about the family as the basic foundational unit of society. It's also the basic foundational unit of the economy. So if you think about society as the way that humans interact socially, it's in the word SOC, right? Social, society. The family is also the basic fundamental economic unit. It produces value. It receives income. It makes decisions about saving and investing and spending. It's the primary driver of consumption in our economy. The family is a business unit, and you can run a business well, or you can run it poorly. I want this business to continue after I die. So the Knowltons are a family that maintains its identity as a force for good for generations. We're a force for good for generations. And so if that's going to be true, then I can't be the only one who knows how to manage money. And I can't be the only one who talks about money. And I can't be the only one, right? I can't be the only one. So I'm teaching my kids, how do we think about stocks? What do we do when we hit a recession? How do we think about real estate? What do we do about bonds? What if there's inflation? What if interest rates go up? What if interest rates go down? How are we thinking about all this? So Randolph, I've been investing since I was 11 years old in 1980. So I got a couple of years of experience here. Why should I make my kids start like I did in 1980? Shouldn't they get a head start? Can't I give them something besides a secret drawer in the desk? Man.
Oh yeah, we refer to it as a knowledge college. Have
Right.
you created a knowledge college for your family? And like one of my mentors, Doug Andrews, says, he says, no matter what you do, all kids are born factory installed. You can raise 3 kids the exact same way, and you can get 3 different outcomes. So what do we do if the incident that you brought up isn't just an isolated incident? How do we proceed with that? And is this in writing? And yes, this is great that we have this great family governance but as far as how the business operates, but when this monarch and this patriarch passes away, they're not going to be reading those legal documents. They're going to be reading the stories. They're going to be reading how you gained this knowledge over time and how did you apply it.
I'm so glad you just brought up stories, Randolph, because that's where we start, actually. So my wife, Julie, and I have chronicled our marriage. We call it our faith and finance journey. And so once a year, I make the kids sit through a slideshow and I take them through, here's where we got married. We've been tithing ever since we got married, first dime we ever made. And then here was a significant economic event, and here's how we responded to it. And here's how we thought we were hearing God. And here was the outcome of our decision. And they have to look at pictures. They have to look at the timeline. And once a year, we retell the story. And those stories, somebody smart told me that stories are cognitively privileged, which basically means they take precedence, or they're in the front of the line over theories and over concepts and things like that. And so we're telling them the story of how did we get where we are, and they get to see themselves in that story because some of those pictures are of them as little kids and then them as teenagers and then their weddings and all that kind of stuff is all part of the story that has brought us to this point here.
Oh yeah, the way it was conveyed to me was data tells and stories sell.
That's true.
Data tells and stories sell. What books should people be reading, John?
Well, of course, they should be reading my book. So this is called Thinking for Success. It's 52 stories that upgrade your thinking to boost productivity, problem solving, and relationships. And so this is a tool designed for leaders of families, leaders of businesses to read the stories and talk about them with your people. And then people can engage those stories to make better decisions and better outcomes. The second book, or the first book that I read every single day, is the scriptures. And so that formats my mind to think like God thinks. He's the one who set up the rules. And if we can think that way, then we're going to be in line and making good decisions. Those are 2.
What's your morning routine?
Morning routine. Generally, I start up about 5:00 and I make my coffee. I can understand the Bible better if I'm drinking coffee. So I make my coffee and then I sit in my rocking chair. I had an Amishman. I'm a short guy. So I had an Amishman make me a maple rocking chair that just fits me just right. And I read at least a couple chapters a day, one New Testament, one Old Testament, and often do some Lectio Divina, which is a process of repeating the scriptures multiple times and contemplating it. And I have a number of prayers and declarations that I make. My wife comes and joins me at 6:45, and we pray together over our kids and over our days and over our families. And then the meetings start up.
What's your personal definition of success?
Success is getting better at whatever you were made to do. So we are each created for some particular purpose. And it's like this old term from geometry class. You might remember it. It's called asymptote. And that is a curve that continuously approaches but never touches the line. So in other words, I could say walk halfway to the wall. Okay. Walk halfway to the wall again. So you could go halfway forever, but you're continuously getting closer. So what is it that you were created to do? If you are getting closer to that every day, you're successful. A lot of people think about, what's that?
So be an isotope.
An asymptote.
Asymptote. Got
yeah.
it.
Yeah. Isotope is from chemistry, I think. So,
oh, yeah.
One of those classes.
What were you about to say?
I was just going to say that a lot of people think of success as completing something, or it's a successful or a completion of endeavors or something like that. And I'm like, man, I want to be a successful husband. And I'm not going to wake up one day and say, all right, baby, I'm done trying because I've peaked out. I hit the mountaintop. No, every day I can get better. I could be more attentive to her. I could anticipate her needs in a new way. And so success never deals with ending in my perspective. Success is always about getting better.
Oh, yeah. Practicing at being perfect.
Yes,
last question, John. Is there not a question that I did not ask you that I should have?
Well, I thought you might ask me for an investment tip.
Hey, go ahead. Let's get it.
Well, here's my investment tip. Buy and fix and flip in high price markets, and buy and long-term rent, hold and rent in low price markets.
Hey, simple is valuable. Simple is valuable. Some people probably expected you to give a whole asymptote or whatever you say. I'm going to pronounce it one of these days. But one last time, please let everybody know who you are, what do you do, and how they can get in touch.
Yeah, so it's John Knowlton is my name. There's a silent K in there, Knowlton. One of the best ways to find us is at thinkingforsuccess.com. And our company is called Abundant Thought Revolution. Thinking for Success is the name of the book. They both get you to the same place. We post updates and insights several times a week. So it's a fun place to follow.
Appreciate you, John. And this has been another informative episode of the Entreprenudist Podcast, a place to hear real entrepreneurs and business owners bear it all. Once again, I am your host, life strategist and retirement planner, Randolph Love III. And until next time, don't play with it, stay with it until you make pay with it. This is the Entreprenudist Podcast, signing off.